I mean, I think that the discussion that we have had has been immensely important, not only from ascertaining what's happening from the legal standpoint, how the response has been in terms of what's happening and how this is seen as being different from the past episodes of attacks against Gaza or Palestinian occupied territories, again, in Palestine against the Palestinians. But it also gives us food for thought regarding what we can do over here. There are so many things that we can do. For instance, I mean, the issue that, for instance, Jenny brought up regarding boycotts, sanctions, regarding BDS, something that our government has been hard at work trying to outlaw now for years. And it seems now that this issue of BDS is going to be the next battleground that we have to fight. Because I know in America, I know some of my own colleagues who tell me that their firms or companies have now added an addendum to the contracts, to the employment contracts, whereby it says ridiculously, sometimes is a company to do with fisheries, for instance, or manufacturing steel or whatever. But every employee needs to sign this addendum to their employment contract saying that they will never support or be part of any campaign to boycott, de-invest, or sanction Israel. This is in America. This is in America. So, and this is, by the way, this seems to be coming to the UK. There are those who actually believe that this is the way to go, that this is what must happen. So this, for instance, is one of the ideas that that we have heard today, and I think it's it adds to the list of initiatives and ideas that are already on the table, and that hopefully will come out soon. If I may, I think until Toby is online. Okay, so we open the door. Yeah, we're gonna open the door for questions and answers. But if anyone has a statement, can I please urge you to be very, very brief? I would much rather that there is a question either thrown to the panel or to someone in particular whom I would ask you to mention. But if it's a statement, please make it very, very brief. I have a gentleman here. At the front.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Umar Hajjaj from Yasin Youth. Question is, I think all the speakers...
You're Palestinian, right?
I'm Palestinian, yes, alhamdulillah.
Welcome.
Very beneficial talks from each speaker. My question, Dr. Ghada Karmi, may Allah preserve you. This is a genuine question. I'm very curious. It's not a criticism. I'm just wondering, Fatah and PLO, their position today has been silent and quiet. And Mahmoud Abbas has agreed to take over Gaza when this is over, to be in charge of Gaza or to take over the administration. So I'm just curious to know what is the position today of the PLO and Fatah in regards to this conflict. Their voices are a bit quiet for us. We want to know what their position is today.
Magda Al-Alfi interested in better society and well-being of communities and good governance. Brother Dawood told us about the example of South Africa and Senegal regarding prosecuting the dictator of Chad, just between the two of them. And we know that there is 120 countries voted for the ceasefire in the United Nations, which wasn't implemented. So there are ways that we can galvanize, and as Jenny said, there is 136 countries recognized Palestine. Is there a way of getting something similar to what happened between South Africa and Senegal in holding whoever responsible for the genocide in Gaza now responsible? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
James Ring, I have a thing called the Ministry of Peace and Legal Action Against War. We took action against Tony Blair during the war on Iraq. But my question is, why aren't we taking immediate action against Netanyahu? It's obviously useful to go to the International Criminal Court or the ICC, but it'll take years. Now, if we were to propose an international war crimes / genocide tribunal to be set up by the UN right away, and I've just sent a message to the Turkish President Erdogan, suggesting that he's already been in touch with the Secretary General of the UN, saying that there ought to be a war crimes trial. But I've asked him if he wouldn't mind adjusting that to say we need a tribunal. And the reason I say that is because previous tribunals, war crimes tribunals, have led to the death penalty. And that's what Netanyahu needs to be frightened of. He won't be frightened of a case that's going to come up in a few years' time, because he'll be out of power by then anyway. And he'd probably be hung by his own people, or rather put in prison by his own people. But what would stop him, the military action now, I think, would be the fear that he might land up in the death penalty in an international arena.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Selma to come back on that. And finally, Dilwar Khan.
My question is to Dr. Gaza Karmi. You mentioned about the one-state solution. What is your opinion about the two-state solution?
Thank you. And I have a note written by one of our attendees saying, can you please pass my points to the meeting? Jenny suggests, unfortunately Jenny isn't with us, but we'll open it to the panel, to form a group to press on her government, as well as the USA and others, to do what exactly? Can I remind her of Biden's statement when he was about 40 years old, oof, that was a long time ago, that if Israel didn't exist, that the United States would actually create an Israel because it protects his country's interests in that region. So the questions that we've heard, some directed directly to some of our panelists, some open. So if I may, I'm going to go to each of the panelists and allow them a couple of minutes to either respond or to make a comment. Please, Ghada, start with you.
Right, thank you. Thanks for those two questions. First of all, the question of Fatah PLO, the official position since the start of the Gaza assault has been, of course, as you'd expect, supportive of the people of Gaza and condemns the attack on, that's the official position. My understanding is that Mahmoud Abbas and those people around him being asked, and this has been talked about a lot, to somehow take over Gaza, for Abbas, his formal position is to say he would do that, but only if a Palestinian state is created, so that it has to be coupled with a solution for the Palestinians. He would never take it on. He wouldn't last 3 seconds if he tried to do that. So I think that's the position. And in terms of the two-state solution, yes, good question. The two-state solution, which is come back to life, I don't know why. They never can part with it. No, Western countries are in love with the two-state idea. But actually, it's a non-starter, and I'll tell you why. Because on 2 counts, the first count, which is entirely logistical, people who support the two-state solution have to demonstrate to us that they can remove the Israeli settlements from the land. You can't, I mean, I'm talking about now just on logistical grounds. There is no territory for the Palestinian state currently because it's completely cut up by settlements. Now, unless those people who support the solution are prepared to say, we will get Israel to remove its settlements, then we can talk about the two-state solution. In the absence of that, they really shouldn't. So that's logistical. The second reason, of course, is one of equity. It's not fair. The two-state solution isn't fair. Even if you wanted to cut, if you were going to cut Palestine down the middle and give 50-50 to both sides, you might at least appear to be being even-handed. But that is not what is on offer. What is on offer is 20% of the original Palestine to the Palestinians and 80% to Israel. How is that fair? It's absolutely unfair. And secondly, it does not carry with it any solution for the 5 to 6 million Palestinian refugees, whom I insist we must never forget about. They have the right to their state, they have the right to return. And that the two-state solution doesn't cater for that. So it's really a non-starter.
Thank you very much. Just 2 points. The first point is about the media, which I think one of the most important tools to put pressure on the Western governments. So the current mainstream media not just only dehumanize and demonize the Palestinian people by adapting to the Israeli narrative, but also they give Israel war propaganda a platform to be transferred into as a news, as a credible news. And that's actually one very important aspect to look at. Israel has a war propaganda. This war propaganda is broadcasted as a news and challenged without rigorous and thorough investigation. But at the same time, the Palestinian narrative is always actually met with disbelief, always actually met with suspicion. And that's actually one aspect to look at. We need to keep pressuring our media to complain using the actual tools of complaint. I think Ofcom is there? Yeah, you can just... Yeah, exactly. So every single narrative, every single story, if we keep raising concerns, this one we're going to put actually pressure on the media. The second point was going to make with regards to the one-state solution, thanks to Ghada for mentioning it. One of the problems which I, as a Palestinian, believe that that one-state solution might not be working, that what is going right now in Gaza is a genocide. Israel is concerned and afraid from the demography of Palestinian people. So they keep killing, massacring, and we can see the evidence of targeting families. 4 generations, 4 bloodline of people now completely wiped out. So if we come after 5-10 years, look how many hundreds of thousands of people have been reduced. So if Israel keeping killing us because of that reason, so what would make them accept the one-state solution? And unfortunately, as this is still going on without Israel going as the culture of impunity and cover-ups and going unpunished, I don't think this is going to be achievable unless you've got another point of view. Thank you.
What I'd like to say in this regard is that last year in July, President Biden went to Israel, and they made a declaration in Jerusalem. It was 14 July 2022. It's called the U.S.-Israeli Strategic Partnership Declaration, in which the United States committed itself to oppose any legal and political action against Israel for human rights abuses in the ICC or in the UN. We have never heard of any instance where the United States have breached any agreement with Israel. And I think this agreement is just last year, he issued it, Biden, and it was Yair Lapid, who was the prime minister at the time. They issued it from Jerusalem. So they are committed to this. You know, America has given them what? Ironclad, that's how they usually call it, ironclad support for Israel. So that's the crux of the matter. The obstacle is huge on that front. But when we talk about the other tribunals, as I give you the example of Chad, it was set up by the African Union and Senegal, and the UN had nothing to do with it, nor the EU or any other, and it worked. it worked. So I think that should be considered. Of course, even within our own jurisdiction in the United Kingdom or in Spain or anywhere else, such trials can proceed. But a lot depends on the political will, you know, in the sense that you stop politicians from intervening and giving special protection for criminals like Pinochet and C.P. Levy and others.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And with your last comment, Anthony, if you can shed light, how is it possible that we can oppose Zionism, but without being labeled anti-Semitic? What's the trick?
If I knew the answer to that question, I think I could make myself a very wealthy person. So very hard to know how that. I think one thing I would say is that I hope the fact that organizations like Jewish Voice for Peace in America and some of the new organizations that have come into existence in this country in the last couple of years, there's one Jewish group called Now Mod, which people may have heard of, who are being much more forceful in their critique of Zionism and their rejection of Zionism, and doing it from a point of view which makes it very difficult for the mainstream Jewish community to undermine them, to call them all kinds of nasty names, self-hating Jews and so on, because many of them are actually observant Jews. So I think the example in many ways has to come from the Jewish community and from those people who are speaking out now against Zionism and making a very clear distinction, as I'm trying to do all the time, between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, and because there is no basis historically for saying that they're the same thing, and de facto in the world that we live in now, it really shouldn't be something which we are promoting through, for example, the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism, which, as we know, we haven't spoken about this a lot here this evening, but that is a particularly pernicious definition of anti-Semitism, which is acting really like a racist charter against Palestinians, and we need to be making that known much more clearly than we are at the moment.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the final word, I think, is something that is quite important, quite poignant, and it leaves us with a lot to think about. There's a lot to mull over, there's a lot to discuss amongst ourselves and with others also. But tonight has been absolutely fantastic. Allow me to thank every single one of the speakers, those who made it here today and those who couldn't but joined us over Zoom. I'd like to thank the volunteers and the team at the Cordoba Foundation, led by Dr. Abdullah Faliq, with everyone who has helped, the camera people, the technicians, the stewards, everyone who's volunteered tonight. Thank you to our partners, the International Center for Justice for Palestinians, ICJP, Middle East Monitor, the Muslim Association Britain, Palestine Forum in Britain, the Radiant Trust, Muslim Voices, and Europal Forum. I urge you all to look for the post-event report that we'll be publishing shortly, and the recording of this entire event will be on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook page. We have downstairs, I think you all saw the big Palestine banner, a struggle for freedom or for liberation. That banner is for anyone who wishes to hire it from us. So if you have an event for Palestine in your local group, in your community center, and you wish to take use of it or to make use of it, please do contact Dr. Abdullah Faliq and the Cordoba Foundation officers. And look at our website, www.thecordobafoundation.com. This event was streamed on our YouTube and Facebook, and it was also broadcast by Al Jazeera, Al Hiwar TV, Islam Online, Islam Channel, and many other platforms. My dear brothers, sisters, friends, thank you so much. Good night. Safe travels back home. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.